Machi on the red, and we start things off with a set ban from PSG.
Set ban pretty standard. It's one of PK's two champions between that and the Aatrox. And I want to talk to you about this Varus ban because not only is Varus a go-to red side ban, but during MSS there was a glaring hole in Machi's draft where they were having to ban the Varus even on blue side because it's just not something that's in Bruce's champion pool.
Yeah, on top of that too, we do see the Azir being banned out. If you guys were watching our pre-show just a little bit earlier, of course, Mission, he has a pentakill on the champion up against PSG back during the playoffs. So arguably, you know, a safe ban to say the very least coming out of them. But interesting enough for Machi, we're actually seeing a lot of the marksmen being taken away here from Unified, as that's also now going to be a Kalista ban.
Yeah, and Syndra actually does fall in line alongside that pretty reliably. These are all bot side focused bans, and I'm thinking to myself, will we just see these two finalists run it back to Spring and rock the Misfortune into the Aphelios spot lane?
Well, Aphelios, it was 100% pick or ban back in Spring, and we're going to start things off the same. It's going to be, of course, the Aphelios going back once again to Unified, who looked like an absolute monster on the champion, back on the MSS, as well as the regular season of the Spring.
So if I'm Machi here, I think I answer the Aphelios with the Misfortune later on, and I take Thresh plus a priority jungler here. Ezreal also, though, has shot up in priority, so maybe we just say, alright Bruce, you've changed signature champions now, you're an Ezreal player, not a 5v5 Misfortune one trick.
Oh, but that's a power pick right there. We mentioned how impactful Gemini was during the MSS on this Graves pickup, and he does get it locked in, likely to be answered here by Rivers Nidalee.
And I like the Nidalee into the Graves matchup. These are two very, very prominent farm-heavy junglers with devastating early games. But, well, this is one way to counter out a farm jungler, is playing a Predator jungler that just ganks again and again and again. But no, we got trolled. It's going to be the Nidalee.
It's going to be the Nidalee. She gets to be a Predator herself, though. She's also hunting through the jungle, trying to catch out Gemini on those rotations. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. Now, if you're PSG, we still have yet to see what they wish to put tank on. Our kind of guess here is, are we going to see them on something a little bit more carry-oriented or something that is allowed to, you know, provide utility? And it can do both when you lock in the Twisted Fate here in the first round.
I actually really like this because Twisted Fate gives you not necessarily hard engage, but it gives you reliable ways of getting on top of this Ezreal later, so it kind of denies Machi this siege poke heavy comp that a lot of these Ezreal picks do opt into. And as well as that, we've seen a bit of flexibility globally in the TF builds because you have the AD TF with Triforce Rapid Fire Cannon, and you have the AP with Rod of Ages, which would be kind of int into Kassadin.
Yeah, because now with that Kassadin getting locked in, we've already kind of established a timer here for Machi. You're waiting for, you know, that level 16 Kassadin. You got those 2-3 stacked items in your inventory, and then you're just going to go around and look to try and delete this Aphelios. Hell, this Nidalee, if River is caught out of position, there's a lot of targets that Mission can go for, especially with this draft already being shown by PSG.
Yeah, still waiting on top and support from both of these lineups. Thresh still open, Karma still open, Yuumi of course out of the table. I'm looking at one of either the Karma or the Thresh to make an appearance, if not both, one on each side. Ezreal Karma, of course, yeah, that's why you take that out there. Ezreal Karma is the poor man's Ezreal Yuumi, but yeah, I take that.
All right, so no Yuumi, of course, it was already banned out. Hanabi's Gangplank also not going to be available as it was banned out here by Machi. Interesting that we are going to see the Karma getting banned out, so just trying to get rid of maybe some other enchanters that could be used here with this Graves pickup or this Ezreal where they become unstoppable. And hell, that's another target ban actually over toward Hanabi as the Quinn is also going to be taken away.
These are actually the two best champions into the Aatrox, so I think this is Machi saying, look, PSG, ban the Aatrox, otherwise we're just going to pick it. Yeah, you can maybe run Renekton into it if you really want, but it's still going to be something that PK is very comfortable navigating.
All right, now for PSG, what are we looking to get rid of here? You're almost expecting that Aatrox to get picked up, and it looks like they're fine playing into it, as they're also going to go ahead and just ban out this Ornn, trying to get rid of something that's that safe tank front line that can at least soak up some damage here for this Ezreal and Kassadin.
Yeah, Ezreal Kassadin do take a little bit of time to just ramp up in terms of relevancy, and actually I thought that it would be Hanabi answering PK's Aatrox with the Renekton, but it looks like PK read his mind completely and said, nah, I'll take the Renekton for myself.
All right, so Renekton being shown here quite early by PK. This is, of course, with Machi having the opportunity to go for the counter pick. We've still yet to see what their support is going to be, and for PSG, though, Kaiwing, he's going to get his Thresh once again. Absolute playmaker, has, I believe, 2 to 3 MVPs on the champion so far this year, so always a safe pickup for that PSG squad. Now for Hanabi in the top lane. Are we going to see a tank here, or are we going to see something like a carry try and answer this Renekton? And this pretty much screams on the side of PSG, get the ball rolling early if the Jace is getting locked in.
Yeah, the Jace really needs to find early success, and as well as that, you saw how disastrous this pick worked out for Hanabi the last time we saw him take it into Machi, which I believe was in the spring final. We didn't really touch on the fact that Thresh was locked in here. It's good, it's reliable, it's a good 2v2, but it does leave options like the Nautilus or the Blitzcrank for Koala if Machi do want to get a direct counter pick into that lane. Also a good pick.
Now, there you go. Bard getting locked in. That was one of, the pocket picks of the PCS. Had something like a 90% win rate over the course of spring for the first 7 weeks. And Koala was one of those go-to pickups when it came to this champion. So I actually kind of like this, because if you look at PSG, this team screams, we have to get ahead early. If we don't get ahead early, we kind of have to rely on this Aphelios to carry us in the late game. But all these other squishy members of PSG can get absolutely obliterated before a fight even starts.
Yeah, with PSG's comp, they have beautiful, beautiful siege. If the Jace gets rolling, if the Nidalee gets rolling, come mid-game, you're eating a spear, you're eating a shock blast through the acceleration gate, and that is going to be half, if not more, health of some of these squishier members of Machi. But Machi, they have the early game pressure of the Renekton, plus the late game insurance policy that is every other member of this composition.
There we go. Draft has been locked in. Of course, this is a rematch of our grand finals from spring. PSG, formerly known as Talon for lots of you. It's still Talon, but they just add the PSG at the front. As they'll be going up here against Machi. Machi, like we mentioned, the last time we saw these two teams clash, it was back in day 2 of the group stage for MSS. Machi was able to take home the victory. Question is, for me in particular, is tank going to be a bigger factor when it comes to PSG taking home the victory, or is Machi going to play clean like we saw back in MSS?
I mean, tank is on a champion that really screams towards Candy's identity, so time will tell. Will this be a new iteration of PSG Talon, or will this just be, a run back of day 2's result? Machi weathered that early game storm and went for the clean 5v5s.
Well, here we go. We're going to go ahead, load on into the Rift for our very first game of the summer split. It's PSG Talon taking on Machi Esports.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I'm glad to see our observers are having fun when it comes to summer. Trying something else new, we got the logos up in the sky. We got the banners now onto the Rift. Feeling nice and grand for our very first game of summer between our, arguably, possibly our 2 world's representatives when it comes to the World Championship, if the results stay the same from spring.
Yeah, these are definitely 2 of the heavier hitters of the region. Of course, with Machi being number 1 in the regular split, and PSG being number 1 in the playoffs at the end of the day. And now looking at, what's on the board for us right now between these 2 teams, pretty interesting. Tank, if there ever was, a show of confidence in your debut game for a team, it's rocking a Cull in the mid lane as your go-to item.
Yeah, that's kind of screaming. I don't wish to ever go into a fight here against Machi. Gemini, never come to my lane, please, is kind of what that's screaming. But again, we'll keep track of this mid lane matchup in particular, because that is obviously the new factor that comes into this matchup. Getting to see Tank make his debut for PSG after playing back in CK, as well as, having experience back in the LPL under Snake back a couple of years ago.
Actually, speaking of that mid lane, you're seeing some Bard Shrines being placed here to sustain the Kassadin up through the early push and pressure of the TF. And this is cool because it gets the Kassadin into a better position. Mission you've seen when he's on it can just take over a game. But it does nullify the level 1, poke potential of this Bard Ezreal lane. Suddenly their trading is super hampered, and suddenly PSG have a shoving bot lane, have a shoving top lane, have a shoving mid lane, and Gemini shouldn't be able to play the game for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, because you see Tank, he's already pushed up the tower, so he does know he can easily just, call out toward that bot lane and say, hey, you know what? They started to heal on that Bard, but it doesn't look like PSG were able to take advantage of it, as you just see Tank getting a little bit of poke there in the mid lane as River now starting to clear out toward his bot.
Yeah, River going for the full clear bar Krugs. Nidalee, of course, does kind of struggle with those AoE clearing camps early when they're not, the Raptors that get 2 hit by the swipe. Pretty standard pathing across the board. I do want to point out, though, that River has opted for the Dark Harvest, meaning that this is very much a mid-game centric Nidalee looking to just siege, poke with the spears, rack up those stacks. But actually, well, this is early game, not mid game, as River already opting for the invade.
Yeah, River just going to go ahead, path up toward that top side, and we've seen this before. If Hanabi's able to push in onto the tower before that level 6, he might try and get some help from River to try and make a play. Gemini, though, has a similar idea as he's gone down toward the bot lane, gets the slow. Koala, though, not able to land the Q. Unified does get a decent chunk of damage onto him, though, as Gemini had lined up the Q nicely to proc during the Lantern passage.
Yeah, for someone that took Conqueror, that was some awful fleet footwork from Unified there, dodging out on the Bard Q and getting himself into a pretty good position to take that Lantern. Gemini showing does mean that this topside scuttle is pretty much going to be uncontested, but to be fair, the Graves did trade one back on the bottom half of the map, which is better than we could have expected for a jungler that's having to deal with the fact that all of his lanes are getting knocked around simultaneously.
Yeah, Gemini was unfortunately... So far, he's had to manage the fact that everyone's kind of getting pushed in. Mission's already gone through all of his healthy little Bard shrines, just trying to at least sustain through this lane. His Tank playing decently aggressive up toward this top lane. Hanabi is actually starting to open himself up a little bit of a CS advantage. That's, I guess, pretty normal when you consider that the Jace is a little bit ranged, and this is a sneaky little play that you can do, is sneak around the scuttle. Hanabi kind of realizes something's gone wrong here. Unfortunately, he steps too far forward. PK gets the quick stun in the first blood of Summer. It goes on over to Machi on Gemini.
Very, very close on the turnaround there, but not to be found for Hanabi. Had no mana, had no cooldowns, and yet Gemini sneaking his way behind the Jace is able to pick up that first blood and secure PK a much better lane state.
Yeah, unfortunately, Hanabi had maybe a feeling, but unfortunately it's a very easy combo. Down in the bot lane, though, Tank has already made his first appearance, trying to make a play happen. Bruce gets himself back to safety. Mission was able to answer with the teleport. PK wants to come on down. Gold card, though, does stun him up. Looks like both teams are looking for a disengage here. River Hook looking for a fish in there with the spear, but unfortunately not going to be able to land. And a little bit of action in the bot lane, but it's still Machi with the kill advantage by 1.
Something to note is that that wasn't the TF ult, of course, with Tank not being level 6 for that gate in Destiny. So they got the Ezreal cleanse out of that play. This means that the next time the TF chooses to, make his way towards the bot lane, it's just going to be a gold card to the face of Bruce with a clean hook to follow up if things do go to plan to PSG. And because they've commit so many resources towards that bot lane play anyway, they're now able to rotate it up here towards this Drake.
For PSG, that's something they'd like to always get, usually that first dragon. We'll see whether or not Machi decides to try and answer with the first Rift Herald if they want to try and put some pressure up there. But as Hanabi actually teleported back into lane, has actually had to back off himself and now going to walk up to the lane. So he's going to lose out on a little bit of CS, and that should give PK the opportunity to try and catch back up. But so far, dead even as far as gold goes, still sitting at 9.6k.
I mean, at the end of the day, even if that was a bit of a trade back and forth with the Drake going in favor of PSG, I think Machi are just happy that the Kassadin has had a pretty smooth early game so far. I do want to point out, looking at that mid lane matchup though, I thought it could be a PTF because of the unsealed spellbook, and it actually will be. The cull made me think, oh, maybe he is going AD because it is versus Kassadin, but no, it's going to be that APTF, so he's going to scale, but at the same time, it's maybe not the most optimal build path versus a scaling champion like Kassadin.
Yeah, because Kassadin, he doesn't really care. He also gets a little bit of a magic shield, and he silences you, and then he just blows you up when it comes into the late game, so... We'll see if Tank is going to be able to survive, and well, so far, River has been pretty reactionary when it comes to his jungling so far. Only trying to answer Gemini, and it's been, you know, this is kind of seeing what we saw back at the MSS with Gemini looking pretty clean on the Graves pick.
Gemini actually getting spotted out by that deep control ward from the side of PSG, though, so even if this Graves does make some sort of a play happen on the bottom half of the map, it's probably not going to be as efficient as Machi are hoping.
You still see River, he's hoping to maybe try and set up for a counter gank, but Gemini has already pathed his way into mid lane, and we'll see some things come out there, so it looks like they were trying to go for a play. Down in bot lane, though, River got himself a kill as they made the play with the Lantern, and Koala's able to just escape.
Oh, and actually we have Tank going in for the Destiny
geez.
onto the Bard as well.
Hello. All right, PSG, they finally answer with themselves. 2 kills down in the bot lane with a nice roam from Tank right off that level 6 with that Twisted Fate ultimate. Hanabi making sure Gemini can't sneak away that Rift Herald either.
Brave from Hanabi there to just, you know, push up and threaten out Gemini there while the solo laners of Machi were both pushing up. And yeah, I said that with the Ezreal having no cleanse, he's gold card bait. Apparently he's hook bait here. No arcane shift to be found immediately. The flash comes out, but it's right into that spear. And with Koala limping out, it looked okay for Machi until bam, his Tank, here's the new member of PSG, ready to make himself known.
There you go. First kill on the board for Tank in his debut. Nice little start there with the Twisted Fate. Liking the map awareness, liking the team comms already, showing, hey, you know what? You just got to go for that teleport to pick up a quick kill. And on top of that, too, PSG have been also able to get the second neutral objective, being this Rift Herald after securing Dragon.
And this is pretty much to be expected with the hard winning solo lanes in this early game. TF, of course, the innate range advantage over the Kassadin, plus it's Kassadin, he doesn't really have a lane phase to speak of in most matchups. And then Jace being, you know, the go-to Renekton counter. We saw the Quinn was banned. This is about as best a matchup as you can get besides that when playing into a melee lane bully like the Renekton.
So Gemini, well, just going to clear out the Baron pit while he can. This bot lane, though, nice to see that Unified and Kaiwing have been able to, I guess, fix up some of the mistakes that we saw back at the MSS. We didn't see Koala or Bruce be able to try and get the jump. If anything, there was flashes burned, but that was when we saw, you know, Mission and Gemini making their appearances down in that bot lane. Other than that, they have not been making mistakes, which, you know, were kind of the crutch when it came to the team's performance back against the PCS.
In their defense, they did have the TF TP into their lane at level 5 and receive quite a bit of attention. But yeah, I'm very much inclined to agree with you there that this bot lane hasn't looked quite as untouchable as they did, especially when Machi were at the top of the table during the regular season of Spring.
Both rows now online in the mid lane, still dead even when it comes to the gold, as Tank is just going to be able to trade that. But now we get to kind of watch, you know, the stacks come in for that Kassadin, and we'll be keeping an eye as Mission continues to scale up into that level 16 that we're aiming for. Is Kaiwing going to make a little bit of appearance? They also have River down here, so if Gemini's not careful, he'll get caught out, able to sneak away and take away that Gromp, as Gemini had to go over the wall, but in comes the rest of PSG. Unfortunately for Shelly, turret did go invulnerable. A nice play from Koala is going to prevent that turret plating from going down immediately. We can see that siege we mentioned earlier coming out from PSG.
Mission
looking to just get a little bit of damage.
Yeah, Mission is floating around for the flank, but they have to be super respectful of the fact that Tank still has the Destiny, but here is the fight.
Koala, gotta be careful, gets hooked down. It's gonna be the stopwatch coming out immediately from the Thresh. In comes the rest of the damage. Tank wants to join on in. Bruce has to cleanse immediately. Flashing forward is Unified, and he's able to find the kill on Bruce. Collateral damage, not able to find it. Kaiwing with the flash hook coming out onto Gemini, and River secures the kill.
Really cool teleport there for coming through from the TF ult to just back up the rest of his team. But at the end of the day, it is PSG that do walk away with that. Mission makes his way down. Mission tries to salvage that play, but with the early pressure from River just going for the invade in tandem with Kaiwing, with Kaiwing going crazy with a hook, it all just comes up beautifully for the side of PSG.
And we're starting to see, this area of strength that we saw from PSG back during spring, as well as the MSS, these, 10-minute skirmishes in these 4, odd man advantage fights where they're able to come ahead.
And this is where I was like, okay, maybe PSG are being a little bit disrespectful, building Roa on TF to match the scaling of the Kassadin, because you're letting not only the Kassadin scale, but you're letting Machi scale to their comfort zone of the 25-minute 5v5 team fights. And yet PSG say, alright, we might be scaling a little bit, but that's still not going to stop us from taking these crazy invades, these crazy skirmishes, and these crazy attempts at shutting Machi down early.
So there we go. Now with that, they also picked up their second dragon of the game, and it's a 4,500 gold lead. This is pretty much where you want to be as far as PSG are in this game, especially against something that's going to be scaling like a Kassadin, giving you some more gold, giving you more resources to try and close out this game.
My only real complaint here for the side of PSG is that while they do have a big gold lead, while they are taking control of the early game, none of that is on Hanabi on this Jace. Nothing is going that well for a pick that really needs to do insanely well early to really be valuable. He's got a interesting build of pretty much full utility as well, kind of weak side Jace coming at you, and I'm really apprehensive to just how useful this champion will be if Machi can continue to weather this storm.
Turret plating is going to fall here. It looks like Unified and Kaiwing were hoping to try and get this push in to get this final little bit of gold away on the map. It looks like they will be able to, so that's some more gold going on to this Aphelios, as he's already picked up his Infinity Edge as well as tier 2 boots. River also positioning possibly for a dive. Gemini is nearby, but you can see that PSG are just trying to burn down this turret, get some more gold onto this Aphelios.
I feel like Tank's TF ultimate is on a much lower cooldown than my TF ultimates whenever I play that champion, because he already has it available again, and that's why you see PSG moving up for these aggressive sieges. That's why you see them fearlessly just committing so heavily here, knowing that Tank has priority mid, knowing that Tank can reinforce them, and knowing that Machi are now still on the back foot.
Well, you see, he's already picked up that Sheen as well as the blue boots. Maybe pair in that he's possibly running Transcendence in his runes. He's almost at that 30% already, so Tank always having that pressure, it seems, here. His mission is still on this Kassadin. He's still looking to scale up, but we're still waiting, another 10 minutes before he really comes online.
Yeah, at least 5 for the Rod of Ages, plus if he wants to go for the Seraphs, it's going to take its time. Kassadin needs 3 items to really be super relevant alongside level 16, but speaking of super relevant, something that Hanabi is not.
And unfortunately now, well, he does at least pick away the big Krug, so he's going to be able to at least do that. He's brought down 3 members of Machi. Hell, the Bard was almost looking to roam too. And with this knowledge, actually, it does allow PSG to go ahead and start up the second Rift Herald.
Yeah, PSG's just in full control of the neutral objectives, and even the not-so-neutral ones as well.
Comes in with the teleport. PK, though, gets immediately on top of him. A beautiful Lantern, though, is able to bring him back to safety. Hanabi looking to try and finish off the kill. Not able to do that himself, and now Koala able to catch out Kaiwing. Kaiwing going to be coming out of stasis, gets stunned up immediately. Q comes out.
Mission on
Hanabi's
side.
able to get a little bit more health back as Unified ends up using his heal. He will go down in the very end, but Gold Card is going to land once back, and Mission unable to assassinate Tank once again as Unified finds himself his second kill of the game.
I mean, on one hand, the Kassadin got a kill. On the other, though, you lose so much pressure across the board. So much gold swinging back in favor of PSG there. They continue to pressure their lead. They continue to push with these aggressive rotations. And they continue to choke Machi out before the Machi team comp can even come online.
So it started off here with PK just pushing in the wave. They make the call, say, hey, you know what? I can come on over. I can try and make the play, even knowing that Gemini was right beside him, having Kaiwing nearby to get him to safety.
Yeah, Gemini ate the, full combo of the Jace afterwards. The TF did get hit with the Empowered Renekton stun, does manage to, hobble out because Rod of Ages makes him surprisingly tanky. Mission I think trading yourself for a kill here on Kassadin is fine. He almost got the double, unfortunately wasn't able to. And as a result of that, PSG just continue to apply the pressure. Herald drop mid, gonna crack this open, gonna get a hook, or not as the case may be. Still, huge swing in advantage for PSG.
You see there, we mentioned this siege power from PSG, if they're able to get ahead, can be pretty hard to deal with. And River, again, just putting so much focus onto these Dragons, now looking at setting up for Mountain Soul on the next spawn.
And this is a major complaint I was having about junglers from this region. I remember addressing this with you multiple times, where they pick junglers that can clear camps, that can clear neutral objectives so reliably, so quickly, but don't do them. But Mission has been, you know, not really able to back up his jungler here. So River has had a free path towards the neutral objectives this game.
And now they can look at obtaining Mountain Soul back in now 21, 22 minutes, a pretty fast one. And that's something actually you would love to have if you're on the side of Machi, considering the amount of poke that is going to be coming out of PSG. That actually helps them keep some of these squishy carries alive and kind of gives them a little bit more time to end the game.
That being said, though, if PSG, you know, don't end in the next 5 to 10 minutes, suddenly this Ezreal's at 3 items, suddenly this Kassadin's at 3 items plus 16, and suddenly your chances of winning this game just became pretty dire despite how well this early game has gone so far. PSG, though, they should continue to apply this pressure, and it looks like they will as they are moving up to pressure all 3 lanes yet again.
Here we go, Hanabi's down in this bot lane, gonna get himself caught out, ends up getting taken down, at least put into the stun once again, over the wall to go. 4 members of Machi show themselves, but you see that mid lane now exposed as the pings are coming in for the second tier tower for PSG.
Yeah, hard commit to bully the Jace that isn't even in the game yet, as you see 2 lanes at once being pressured by PSG. In fact, they even use the gate to bring tank mid, so they can guarantee this mid lane tier 2, and he'll continue to pressure the tier 2 up top as well.
This is the one thing, though, we have to mention for Machi. If they are able to find a good fight in their favor, there is still a lot of freestanding gold on this map. This is only their very first tower taken at 19 minutes, whereas PSG, they've already taken 4. Second look here as Hanabi, fortunately nothing you can really do here.
Yeah, end of the day, you're eating the Bard ult, you're eating the Empowered Renekton W, you're getting CC'd for a good 10 seconds or so, and actually I would have maybe liked to have seen that kill being donated over to... Actually, I do believe that went over to Bruce, so I'm pretty happy with that if I am Machi, because now our 3 item carries are getting just that little bit closer towards their actual power spikes.
I want to also mention 3 items, because we take a look now at Unified in this mid lane, already starting to work now toward that Death's Dance, and once he hits those 3 items, there's going to be this kind of sweet point for PSG where he's at 3 items, the rest of Machi aren't, and they're going to be able to kind of dominate some of these fights.
This was actually a huge criticism I had of Unified at MSS, where he opted for both, I think it was the Phantom Dancer plus the Maw of Malmortius or something. No, sorry, it was Phantom Dancer plus, oh, I can't remember. It was just 2 utility items. Yeah, he didn't go enough damage, but this time around he's got enough damage. He's got his defensive item after crafting his core, and now he can look to deal damage while also being pretty much unkillable.
There you go. That's going to be the second tier tower now in bot lane being taken here by PSG, and that opens up a 7,000 gold lead at the 20-minute mark. Being 20 minutes, so Baron is on the table. You can see, though, PSG looking to roam, maybe looking for a play here in mid, but Mission Koala are able to get back to safety as the minions soak up the pressure.
I mean, this is beautiful League of Legends here because PSG push in the mid lane. They push their waves, something that a lot of teams, even at the pro level, aren't as disciplined at doing. They push and then they rotate. That means that by the time Machi are able to answer in the lane that they've left empty, it's not even crashing into their turret. They just soak this wave after rotating back. And that is a fundamental that PSG are really demonstrating to a good level of understanding, considering they have a new mid laner in this lineup so far.
And, you know, if you're Machi here, too, if you give too much pressure over onto the side of PSG, if you let them set up around this Baron, the fact that you now have Unified at these pretty much 2.5, now 3 items very shortly, as well as, you know, a damage carry in the form of a TF, as well as, you know, Hanabi on this Jace. They can rip apart this Baron pretty fast if Machi gives them the opportunity.
Not only that, but playing with Fog of War for this PSG lineup means that if someone from Machi face checks into their vision control, they're gonna eat a Shock Blast, gonna eat a Spear, gonna eat a Gold Card, a Thresh Hook, a Felios front-loaded burst as well. Just so much that this PSG comp can do when ahead to really just make life hell for anyone on Machi. Because the poke comp, how do you remedy a poke comp? You answer it by, you know, dropping a lot of hard engage. The only hard engage Machi has is a Miracle Bard ultimate from Koala.
Now, I'm not to say, though, I wouldn't doubt Koala. He's had himself some clean Bard ultimates. Now, if he gets caught out toward the side like this, that might be a different question. Is now Kaiwing able to find the hook onto PK? True Shot Barrage ends up cutting through the backside of the team as Bruce now rejoins onto the fight. Tank does have his gold card, but will not look to pull the trigger. The thing here for Machi, you can tell, is they want to try and force a fight. They need to try and make something happen, because at this point, Mountain is back on the Rift, and that is possibly Mountain Soul. If PSG are able to find a fight, and like that, they might just do it here as PK gets taken down by River. The rest of the team comes on forward. Kaiwing with another flash hook, not gonna land, but Tank is able to find the kill on Bruce, and like that, 2 members of Machi fall, and it's an easy Mountain Soul for PSG.
Yeah, the flash hook goes wide, but everything else hits home for the side of PSG. They get the fight, they get the cleanup, and they will get this Mountain Soul to boot. Could even rotate to the Baron afterwards if they so wish. And suddenly, Machi, even with that late game insurance policy, are looking like they're on the ropes.
And a nice play there coming out from Tank, was able to Destiny in, get himself that gold card onto PK, and the rest was history.
This TF, low-key kind of tanky, not gonna lie to you, Opal. This is kind of obnoxious to deal with, much like this.
There we go, that's gonna be the flay back in directly. Unfortunately, Moonlight Vigil does not land as Unified ends up using his stopwatch, so there goes no damage. Kaiwing's kind of left out to dry. Gold card, though, is gonna connect onto Gemini. You see River wants to go back, re-engage onto
Unified
the Baron.
settling Baron?
Unified, he's got, again, the gray and the red guns. That's what you want if you want to try and go for this Baron. Unfortunately, PSG, they're looking a little bit chaotic. Bruce is able to find the kill. Over the pit they go. It's PK trying to get on in. Gemini tries to steal away the Baron, but it will not happen as Bruce gets taken down. And that's going to be 4 members now limping away. Machi lose 3 in total. Mission just barely surviving. And PSG now with Soul and the Baron.
Huge amount of siege potential coming through from PSG here with the Baron to boot. Jace can't be dealt with. TF can't be dealt with. Unified and River as a duo just pushing out this mid lane cannot be dealt with. And this base of Machi is about to be in shambles.
There you go. Mid lane inhibitor shall fall. Top lane as well is going to be taken. That's now a 12,000 gold lead for PSG at 24 minutes. That is literally 500 gold a minute they have been able to generate over Machi. Taking a look here as PK is the first one to go over the wall to try and go for a steal.
Yeah, Gemini was already pretty much out of this fight. All he had left in the tank for this Graves was a miracle steal getting in there. Mission couldn't even get off his 3rd rotation after just committing onto Hanabi. If the Kassadin ever hard commits to someone and can't kill them, when he doesn't even have his hourglass yet, yes, he has stopwatch now, but at the time he didn't. Not a champion. And when that is something you'd expect in the early game, but at the 25-minute mark, Machi, this is the point where you're supposed to take over the game.
And speaking of taking over the game, Tank has been everywhere on this Twisted Fate. Gets another gold card. Hanabi's going to be the one securing the kill. Koala's taken down as Unified's on a rampage. And at this point, Mission has to back off. Lantern into the base. Unified's hunting for more kills. Ends up popping the ultimate. Forces Bruce so low and will take him down with the grab. And there you go, PSG. They're playing with their food in their base. Tank is just going to go back to base and teleport back in as PSG look to close out the game immediately here. A sub 30-minute stomp coming out from our spring champions as they take down their rivals Machi to open up the summer split.
And Tank slots into this lineup flawlessly, comes in, carries the hell out of that mid lane, and snowballs the rest of the team. Candy, very much a similar playstyle, but it is Tank that slots himself in seamlessly here.
So a good debut coming out from the new mid lane of PSG, and they're able to remain on top of the PCS, at least to start off their split here against their rivals of Machi. And guess what? They now own that tiebreaker as far as the 15-game record goes, 8-7. But honestly, I couldn't say that looked like a close game at all. PSG were just able to run away with it.
Yeah, definitely. In draft, I was a little bit apprehensive because I was like, okay, you need this Jace to pop off early. And yeah, okay, Machi got first blood on that Jace. It looked okay for them. And the fact this TF went AP into Kassadin, again, early game looked okay for them. Everything looked absolutely fine until like 5 minutes in. Then suddenly the game explodes. Everything starts hemorrhaging resources for the side of Machi. And yeah, PSG, they take control and they run with it.
Well, that's kind of what I got to mention there. It's that 10-minute, 12-minute mark where Talon, if they are ahead, they feel very comfortable to try and go for these, odd man skirmishes where they find a little advantage, where they find a pick here and there off playmakers like Tank on this Twisted Fate, getting around with his ultimate, pulling those gold cards and able to lock down the necessary targets of Machi, as well as Kaiwing once again on his thresh looking absolutely brilliant with these hooks.
Yeah, but one kind of questionable flash hook that missed around that 4th Drake fight. He was on point with this, and the coordinated invades with River as well. Really confident for them to move up like that, especially with a new face in the lineup in that mid lane, because of course your jungler typically won't invade unless he is mid prio, but they trusted in Tank, they believed in him, and he paid dividends just by allowing the rest of the map to move around a lot more freely thanks to the TF's global pressure.
Yeah, and I was kind of, skeptical. Anytime I see a Twisted Fate, sometimes I kind of go, okay, we'll see how this goes. And of course, that was his debut, so I think he's going to be pretty happy, as well as with the rest of the team as we take a look at some of the highlights back. A lot of this actually starting around this Dragon fight near the end.
Yeah, Tank went huge in this fight. The TF, as we said, Rod of Ages, pretty tanky. There was the suspect hook from Kaiwing, but it didn't matter at this point. A ton of damage just connecting between the spear, between the shock blast, and PSG, yeah, they don't even need to commit to these fights. They just poke you out, and then they chill back. Hanabi quietly putting out the most damage despite receiving the most bullying from the enemy team for the duration of this early game.
Yeah, can we just talk about this gold graph and how it literally just shoots up the side of a cliff out of nowhere? I don't know if that's necessarily accurate. I thought PSG were much further ahead at some point, so maybe I'll just ignore that. But nonetheless, yeah, Hanabi was able to, output a decent amount of damage on this Jace, even though we kind of felt like, all right, well, he's not stomping lane. Well, he doesn't have to if the rest of the team is able to back him up during these team fights. And other than, 4 kills in the 1 tower, it was almost a perfect game coming out from PSG.
Look at the Kassadin damage as well. Late on the rotations, because it's Kassadin, you can't really leave lane on a whim. You're trying to farm, you're trying to do something. Never really had the chance to play this game. The late game insurance policy never got to be cashed in on. There's some sort of title sponsor joke you can make with CTBC
okay.
and cashing in on a late game I don't know, but yeah, no, just this Kassadin never really got to do anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mission maybe not having all his eggs into a basket. My question though, who is going to be our MVP for our very first game? I think you could easily give it on over to Kaiwing, but you know what? Why not? Give it on over to Tank on the Twisted Fate for his debut with PSG.
Yeah, not only putting up good individual play, but as we said, applying enough global pressure and giving enough confidence to the rest of the team to allow them to move freely across the board. Really, really good way of establishing yourself as, a player. You're not just like the 6th player to a 5-man lineup. You are slotting in there and you are showing that you can fill your own niche within this lineup.
So, yeah, like we said, Tank was able to make his debut and was good to see. We kind of wondered, what is going to be different with this Talon squad with Tank now into the lineup. And already, now, to give credit over to Candy, the very first champion pick for Tank is literally like the global presence champion of Twisted Fate. But this was something that we didn't really get to see too often from PSG back in spring.
Yeah, definitely. And I do, think about the fact that maybe it's, a scenario where I don't want to say that Mission is Candy's kryptonite or something, but the fact that they've chosen to run, the new face in the lineup over their storied mid laner is pretty indicative of something at least.
Well, we have an interview with Hanami, so Patty, our translator, is going to be helping us with that. Take it away.
之前春季赛没有看到的，那你认为他本身加入你们的团队有什么样的一个化学效应吗？
So you guys have some roster changes this season with a new Korean player, which is Tank. And his champion pool is a little bit different from Kenny, which he chose Twisted Fate as his first champion in the first game. So what kind of changes do you think he made in your team in terms of team dynamic?
我觉得 Tank 跟 Candy 最大不同就是在打法上吧，因为 Tank 其实是比较激进的，然后 Candy 是比较浓的，所以如果 Tank 上场的话，我们就会想办法在更早把游戏结束掉。
So Tank is more aggressive, and versus Candy is more he needs to farm more. So if Tank is playing, we're gonna have to play a little more aggressive and more faster than Candy.
好，那第二题的话，想要问一下这个汉娜贝，就是 PSG 就是从夏季开始冠名你的队伍。那 PSG 他们其实是一间非常有名的这个传统的足球俱乐部。那冠名之后，队伍上面没有什么一些气氛上的改变？
So PSG Esports became your titled sponsorship in this season, and so they're a very well-known soccer club in France. So what kind of changes do you see in your team after they help you out?
说实话，我完全没看足球，所以也不知道这间公司是怎么样。
So to be honest with you, I don't watch soccer, so I don't really know anything about them.
没事，我们那个脚能踢起来就好，
能踢起来就好，
手也能用起来就好，好不好？对，
你换衣服就好。
没错，那当然非常感谢 Hanabi 来接受我们的赛后访问，也非常感谢我们的翻译姐姐。那我们再次的恭喜是来自他这个 PSG 塔隆的一个。
Well, thank you for that one there, Hanabi. Okay, I don't know if you want to be saying that about your title sponsor right off the bat there. I don't watch a whole lot of soccer. Oh well, I hope he starts because PSG right now I think they're pretty happy with their pickup here as Talon were able to take home the victory. And you even heard there why they have now fielded Tank into their roster. They find he gets to be more proactive, he gets to be more aggressive versus what they saw with Candy.
Yeah, definitely testament to that in that debut game there. Just, as I said, the global pressure and the fact that you have this mid laner just, constantly going in, constantly playing forward like that, it unlocks your support to go deep. It unlocks your jungler to make the more aggressive rotations. That being said, don't expect Tank to get that every game. It was just kind of fortunate that his debut was against a Kassadin in the mid lane.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, but when we come back, of course, it's going to be our second game of the summer split. Stick around. We'll be right back.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side ready to embrace the future.